happening tonight in Vancouver.
For the record, I was not delayed by the Massey Tunnel.
BC's Transportation Minister cracking a joke about the congestion the province is planning to fix, something the region's mayors say can't come soon enough.
We need to do it because the life expectancy of that tunnel is getting very close.
Since the smoke has been blowing here, it's been even worse.
A COVID-19 long hauler says she's isolating in her room because of wildfire smoke. How the haze is impacting patients already struggling to breathe.
Thank you very much, everybody. We'll pass it over to you.
It's a new era for the BC Lions as the team welcomes a new owner. Just ahead, what this means for the future of the team in a league facing financial stress.
This is City News Everywhere.
The province now has a plan to improve what is arguably Metro Vancouver's worst daily traffic jam.
For the record, I was not delayed by the Massey Tunnel this morning, although I sympathize with everybody stuck in that congestion.
To get people out of that congestion, the plan is a new 8-lane tunnel, twice the current 4. 2 lanes dedicated to transit leaving drivers, 3 lanes in each direction. This will, the province says, decrease counterflow rush hour tunnel times by more than 2/3.
At peak times, going down to 1 lane is a significant source of congestion and frustration for commuters that will be eliminated by building to an 8-lane standard.
If you're driving downtown, though, in the morning, your trip won't be any faster. But the minister says ongoing improvements, like to surrounding intersections and on-ramps, travel in the area will be smoother.
The east-west connections that sometimes conflict with the north-south connections will be resolved. That's part of the congestion management plan here.
But change is going to take time. The $4.15 billion tunnel not open for another 9 years. The NDP scrapped a BC Liberal bridge plan that would have been done next year, potentially for less money. Communities and businesses relying on travel through the tunnel relieved, though, something is finally being done, even if not everyone's first.
We have long supported a bridge option. And having said that, though, I think it's just really important to recognize the importance of this going ahead, but the work that still needs to be done.
Including environmental assessments that will take a few years, but the province is confident that will be a smooth process. For mayors in the region, timing is everything, and this can't happen soon enough.
We can't let the red tape and the bureaucracy slow it down. We've got to do it properly. And also we have to ensure that day one, there's a modern, rapid transportation system that people will want to get out of the cars.
That's key to the province's plan here, pushing the commute beyond the car. They're banking on it.
We'll also give people real options to leave their cars at home in favor of efficient public transit or active transportation.
If transportation choices don't change, there's a chance increasing population in the region could outpace capacity as the tunnel opens in 2030. For City News in Victoria, I'm News 1130's Lisa Yuzda.
A pedestrian was killed after being hit by a vehicle while crossing Highway 1. It happened in the westbound HOV lane of the highway just before the Willingdon overpass. Police say a second vehicle that rear-ended the car that struck the pedestrian left the scene before officers arrived. Investigators are looking for more information about that vehicle. Anyone with information about the collision or who has dash cam footage is asked to contact BC Highway Patrol. Vancouver police are reporting 3 girls were assaulted Tuesday afternoon near False Creek. The string of assaults began at Granville Island around 4:30 p.m. 2 11-year-old girls were walking near the seawall when an unknown man passed them on a bike and groped one girl from behind. Police believe the suspect that then followed the victims to West 6th Avenue and Birch Street, where he groped the second girl. About 30 minutes later, a 15-year-old was running on the seawall near Science World when she was also groped by a stranger. The suspects have different physical descriptions, but both were men riding a red and white bike.
It's very concerning, regardless of your your age or your gender, you should feel comfortable and you should feel safe walking around your own city. This is a case where we had 3 young girls who were simply walking, minding their own business, and a stranger came up from behind and violated them and sexually assaulted them. They did the right thing. They called the police. We're able to investigate, and right now we're gathering evidence. We're gathering information. We're trying to identify a suspect or suspects, and we commend them for doing the right thing.
Investigators have not yet linked the incidents, but think there may be other victims who have not come forward yet. Anyone with information about these assaults is asked to contact VPD. Surrey RCMP is looking for information from the public about an assault in Whalley that left one person seriously injured. On August 6th at 7 a.m., officers responded to a report of an injured man in the area of 105A Avenue and City Parkway. The victim was taken to hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Police believe the assault occurred in the 10,600 block of 135A Street.
At the time of the assault, the victim was wearing shorts and a red long-sleeve shirt. So if you observed anything regarding this incident, please contact Surrey RCMP.
Police also ask for anyone with dashcam footage of the area around 7 a.m. on August 6th to share with him. Continued cooler temperatures have helped firefighters control the more than 264 fires burning across the province. But evacuation orders remain for dozens of communities. The province has asked residents to avoid all non-essential travel to areas affected by wildfires. Highway 1 was closed between Cache Creek and Lytton as rainfall in the already fire-ravaged area triggered a mudslide. During a campaign stop in Vancouver today, Justin Trudeau spoke about how, if re-elected, his government would help support the BC wildfire effort.
This fire season has been one of the worst on record. It's clear we need more people and more resources to fight these wildfires and keep communities safe. So that's exactly what we're ready to deliver. A re-elected Liberal government will invest $500 million ahead of the next fire season for the firefighters and equipment provinces need.
Trudeau says funds would be used to train 1,000 more firefighters and invest in necessary equipment, including water bombers and helicopters. Conservative leader Aaron O'Toole has called for more federal and aid and military to support affected parts of the province. And NDP leader Jagmeet Singh says the devastating wildfires in BC are a clear example of the impacts of climate change.
Since the smoke has been blowing here, it's been even worse.
A COVID-19 long hauler says she's locked herself in her room because the smoke seeping into the rest of her home has her gasping for air. And she's not alone. She says patients like her are even struggling indoors. Adriana Patino hasn't left her home in months because of symptoms including low oxygen levels, chest pains, and heart palpitations. And now she's staying in her bedroom, away from windows and a patio door. She rushed to a hospital last weekend when haze settled over Metro Vancouver.
I've had to make a run to the ER at some point because I literally could not breathe, like I was suffocating. And there's only so much that the puffers and the steroids and everything can do.
Patino has been chatting with others on a Facebook long haulers group and says many others say symptoms are getting worse, especially for those near wildfires or by the BC-US border.
What this does, you just put it on the finger and it shows you the oxygen and the heart rate. 90 is kind of like the limit where you need supplemental oxygen, and then anything below 90 is dangerous. So my usual, since I've been a long hauler, has been between 87 to 91, roughly, 92 on my good days. But with the smoke, there's been times, like I said, that it's been hitting 83, 82.
What's likely to happen, again, based on what we know, is that if that lung disease, sort of those that persists throughout their lives, which is possible, they're going to be sensitive sort of every year, year in, year out, and are the types of individuals that really need to be very careful in terms of avoiding exposure. We would recommend, if they can, to get an air filter put it in their home and to operate that certainly during the smoke season.
Patino is dreading the possibility of being further isolated during the wildfire season. While there's more to learn about long COVID and what can make it worse, she warns about the risks of the illness.
I was a competitive swimmer at world level, and I had the strongest lungs that anyone can imagine. And I ended up like this. So it can happen to anyone.
In Vancouver, Crystal Adaris, City News.
If you do not intend to vote with a mask, I would encourage you to vote by mail.
Elections Canada lays out how COVID is going to change what you're going to see when you walk into a polling station next month.
BC has announced 553 new COVID-19 cases today and 1 new death in the last 24 hours. There are currently more than 5,500 active cases across the province. There are 107 patients in the hospital, with 53 in intensive care. As of today, nearly 83% of British Columbians 12 and up have received their first vaccine dose. Nearly 74% are double vaxxed. Meng Wanzhou's extradition hearing wrapped up at BC Supreme Court today after nearly 3 years of legal arguments. Justice Heather Holmes has reserved her decision as she considers whether the United States has presented enough evidence to support a possible guilty verdict against the Whalley executive. Meng says she's innocent of U.S. fraud charges based on allegations she misled HSBC in a 2013 presentation, putting the bank at risk of violating U.S. sanctions law. A lawsuit filed today in BC Supreme Court accuses the 2 largest rail companies in Canada of negligence involving this summer's deadly wildfire that destroyed most of Lytton. The plaintiff, Kara Moisowicz, is a visual artist who lost her home, all of her belongings, and her cat when flames tore through the village on June 30th. She blames the rail companies for letting freight trains travel through the region during a record-setting heat wave and not taking more proactive safety measures. CN says they have received the filing and an investigation into the cause of the Lytton fire remains ongoing. CP Rail has not yet to issue a response.
Thank you very much, everybody. We'll pass it over to you.
Local entrepreneur Amar Doman is the new owner of the BC Lions, ushering in a new era for the 6-time CFL champions.
Football ownership is a responsibility at a very high level. It's about giving back, community involvement, and developing skill sets for our young people, and of course having a winning attitude all the way through the organization.
But Mr. Doman has some big obstacles to tackle. Over the last few years, the BC Lions have struggled with low game attendance in a league already struggling financially. This compounded by the CFL canceling its 2020 season due to reasons related to the pandemic.
This is a team that has obstacles in front of it right now, whether it's the perception of battling traffic after a long work day, or maybe the game's a little too long, or it's not the NFL. People need to get past the perception issue right now, because as you and I will know, perception is reality.
Sportsnet 650 Scott Rintoul says Doman's position as a local owner of the team is something people can feel confident about.
But the new owner, Amar Doman, he does have a lot of business connections. He obviously has the financial wherewithal to run this team as well. And he can call on favors from people, at least in my estimation, to, hey, let's support this team, help me get behind this, that perhaps an owner living out of market wouldn't be able to do. And that's at least the potential to steer this in the right direction financially.
Doman is the founder of the Futura Corporation and has worked in lumber and construction for decades. The Lions describe him as an entrepreneur known for his business acumen and talent for seeking the bigger picture. The franchise has been trying to find a new owner since David Braley passed away last year. Braley bought the team before the 1997 season, and the team won 3 Grey Cups under his ownership.
The fact that somebody wants this at a time where finances are in question from a league-wide perspective, from a local perspective, and someone who has a resume of turning around companies and making them profitable says, I think I can do that with this, that should be seen with confidence by the local community.
The Lions' first home game here at BC Place is on Thursday against the Edmonton Elks. In Vancouver, Kier Junos, City News.
Small businesses expecting a lot during this election campaign.
We're the backbone of the economy. How many times have you heard that?
We tell you what the party leaders have said so far in the first few days.
Now, I know that Canadians are used to getting complete results on election night, but it will be different for this election.
Elections Canada says due to the huge number of expected mail-in ballots, it could take 2 to 5 days for every vote to be counted. Elections Canada says that in a normal election year, they'd get around 250,000 mail-in ballots, including those from overseas Canadians and people in the armed forces. But this year, Elections Canada has ordered over 5 million mail-in ballots.
The count of regular ballots on ordinary polling day and advance polls will be completed on the night of the election as usual. However, the count of mail-in ballots will start after Election Day once all the mail-in ballots that electors have dropped off at polling stations have been returned and integrity checks have been performed.
For people voting in person, Chief Electoral Officer Stéphane Perreault says you can expect to see something similar to a grocery store. Social distancing, hand sanitizer, and masking if the local health authority requires it. But Perreault wasn't able to explain what will happen if someone refuses to wear a mask by choice.
And you have a medical reason not to wear a mask, then you will not be denied the right to vote. But if it's just a matter of personal choice and the mask is mandatory in the jurisdiction in which you're voting, then we will apply those rules.
Elections Canada also says it's not making vaccination mandatory for polling workers. While Perreault says he expects many workers will be vaccinated anyway, he says polling stations will be tightly managed and it'll be easier to control spread.
The recommendations so far do not include making vaccination mandatory. And as I indicated, we are recruiting ordinary Canadians, serving ordinary Canadians, and they will encounter them in locations that are highly controlled, much more controls than the kind of encounters you see at the grocery store every day.
Now, Perreault also says they need Canadians to step up and work polling stations. Elections Canada needs around 250,000 people, but in 2019, a year without a pandemic, they only got around 230,000. In Ottawa, Whalley Lee, City News.
Small businesses and their struggles have been front and center throughout this pandemic, so expect nothing different as this election campaign rolls on. Closures have meant lost revenue and some assistance from the federal government, but now is the time for the parties to offer up what they plan to help owners recover.
The problem with some of the recovery efforts are that they're one size fits all when we're individual businesses with individual needs.
The Edmund Burke on Danforth has seen it all at this point. Now the owners are looking for something new to help them get back to making money again.
Now, if you're going to extend these benefits to people, this recovery program, you have to understand that fixed costs have gone up. So yes, revenue's going up because we're open again, but the supply chain is a mess. Like, everything costs more.
A survey conducted by the Canadian Federation of Independent Business showed 78% of small business owners consider the economy to be the top issue in the election campaign, followed by small business recovery at 74%. Just 24% were confident that their concerns would receive enough attention.
It has been an incredibly difficult 17 months for business owners across the country, and they want to make sure that all parties are really paying attention and really coming out with clear plans that can get recovery up and running as soon as the election is over.
A re-elected Liberal government will extend and introduce new emergency supports for businesses and workers to make sure we build back better for everyone.
The Liberals plan to move forward with the 50% hiring subsidy that was part of the latest budget, along with the wage and rent support for businesses introduced during the pandemic. Arts and culture would get an extra boost with money to make up for lost ticket sales. As part of its just-released recovery plan, the Conservatives have suggested a month-long GST holiday for customers to boost sales for business. A 50% rebate on food and non-alcoholic drinks at a restaurant would be offered up as well.
There are thousands of small and medium-sized businesses in hospitality, tourism, restaurants hanging on by a thread. So our plan will secure those jobs, help them thrive, and that will help us get a growing economy.
The NDP have yet to release any official party platform related to small business, but Jagmeet Singh has also addressed the issue already.
Invest in supporting small businesses like Meng Wanzhou
so that they can get help if they need some rental subsidy, wage subsidy, help them get through this tough time and get back on their feet.
Something that sounds good to this business owner, which is why she's looking for even more attention as the election campaign continues.
We're the backbone of the economy. How many times have you heard that? You know, we employ the most people. Our employees spend the most money. That money that is made in hospitality goes right back into the economy.
A separate public opinion poll recently conducted by Angus Reid concluded that 9 in 10 Canadians overall believe that small businesses being able to bounce back will be key to Canada's economic recovery. Mark McAllister, City News.
Vancouver's news is always available on the radio with News 1130 or online anytime at citynews1130.com. Your next edition of City News is tonight at 11. Thank you for watching and have a great night.